I'm Nyah. I'm talking about JSEM, which is Justice Semester for 2022, and it was based in Thailand. It was a 3-month program. That was discipleship training school. And as you can see, it was a rainy season, so super wet, and that was just a traditional Thai meal that we had. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so why did I go? When I was in grade 8-ish, I was sitting in church, and I saw the promo video, and I was like, that place looks awesome. I want to go one day. And I felt really set on it, but then COVID came, and I was like, oh, the year before it got canceled, and I was not sure they were gonna do it anymore. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do something else. Because I pretty much always knew I wanted to take a gap year. It's been really enforced here, or encouraged, enforced by my dad, maybe, but just very pushed. And I think it's really cool to take a gap year, because I saw all my friends rush into university. Some of them pick majors they didn't follow up on, and just were super stressed during their grad year. And I was like, I don't want that. I want a gap year. And then I also wanted to do this program really badly. But yeah, so I really like traveling. I really wanted to have an adventure. This was literally across the world, and it sounded so cool. And the weather is really warm there, guys. So yeah, and then obviously they give God a year. I really wanted to give him my time. You can go to the next slide. So a lot of people have asked me, how was my trip? And I had 3 descriptions, depending on the person. Mostly, if I had to have just one word, I would choose adventure. It was a lot of ups and downs. It was a lot of uncomfortableness and just really interesting experiences that you just have no idea living on this side of the world. So some bigger points were I learned a lot about human trafficking down in Thailand, and I really have a heart for women who are abused and are sexually abused and exploited. So this program really spoke to me compared to other ones. I got to meet so many different people, so many different kinds of people, and a lot of kids too, that just really impressed me and surprised me. It was just so cool to see other people's worldviews. And as well as my spiritual and personal walk with Jesus, it was very impacted during this trip. I had to rely on him a lot, especially when I was navigating giant airports by myself. So that was definitely something I needed to lean on him for. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so a little bit about Thailand. It is a shame and honor culture, unlike our guilt and innocent one. So just things kind of work a little differently. And the best example I can give is at a red stoplight, you stop, right? In Thailand, if there's no one there, you can go. No one cares. You're not shaming anybody. So yeah, it's very, very different. There's also a lot of spicy food, which I had to eat. And I don't like spicy food that much, but I had to learn to like it. The culture is super polite, I found. And we were in a more touristy area, so there was a lot of different cultures too. But overall, the Thai people we met were really fun and really friendly and really liked talking to us, even though if it was just a few words they knew in English. And also the traffic was crazy and on the left side of the road. So yeah, that was, honestly, I was not expecting that, but interesting. We can go to the next slide. Another thing about Thailand is that it's I think about 95% Buddhist. So one of the sayings they have there is to be Thai is to be Buddhist. So it's like very heavily accepted religion there. And so on the left here, there's temples and shrines. They're everywhere there. They're really pretty, but there's a lot of like gods that they're worshiping and giving sacrifices to, and it's really sad to see like the poor people spend their money on that when they're starving. But they're just so dedicated to that religion because it's very merit based, and all about your good deeds. So the vegetarian festival was a bit of a shock when we got there. I think it was in October for a week. Um, and this little ritual thing was very specific to the island I was on. It's not really a Thailand thing, it's more of a Phuket thing. That's where I was based. Um, so the good part of vegetarian festival is like people are eating healthy and eating vegetables. The bad thing is they are, how do I describe this? So, one member of the family is chosen to bear the sins of the whole family, and they're pierced through the mouth and paraded through the streets. So that is the kind of gruesome side of the vegetarian festival. And it's kind of interesting that with no Jesus context, that's also kind of similar, like Jesus taking all of our sins for us and cleansing us, but yet it's so far away. Um, and yes, I have demon possession because they're also calling on demons to possess these people that are getting pierced, and it was kind of terrifying. And there was also lots of fireworks all night, and it was very hard to sleep. You can go to the next slide. So, on a little lighter note, some of the Thailand adventures I had was going to the international church. So there's a lot more people who spoke English. So that was kind of cool. But also a lot of Thai population. And night markets was a huge thing that me and the group would do in the evenings. We'd go around, and there's like tons of shopping, tons of vendors, like everywhere. Because a lot of people have their own like small business, and there's not a lot of food regulations there either, so you can just sell whatever you want. Went to beaches, and then this guy right here, that is the Big Buddha temple on the highest point of the island. One morning we decided to walk up it at like 5 a.m. in the morning to watch the sunrise. It was not my idea, but it was really fun. You can go to the next slide. So JSOM is hosted by FFI, and FFI is the anti-trafficking organization. That's where I learned a lot about the human trafficking in Thailand. So yeah, it's an anti-trafficking organization that hosts JSOM. It has a team of investigators, social workers, directors, undercover workers, and people who speak in the courts, and lots of other people and people who do multiple jobs. They're really cool to meet, and their English is like pretty much perfect. So it was kind of cool to hear some of their stories and their investigations. But their three things that they do is prevention, intervention, and restoration. So prevention, they're going into schools and talking about safe touch with the little kids. For intervention, they're getting involved with police cases of human trafficking, exploitation. And restoration, they have a bakery and a hair salon that women who've been exploited can learn trade skills. So it's helping them get out of the trade of human trafficking and the prostitution there. Which I'll talk about in the next slide. Go. So this is the red light district. It's pretty big in Thailand. I don't know if you guys have heard of like the Amsterdam red light district. But that's kind of where a lot of the human trafficking is based. And it's really sad to see the police officers just like sit outside the red light district and not do anything. Yeah, so it's called Patong Beach, and Bangdala Road is the road we were walking down. And just from a distance, it looks very normal. Like there's a McDonald's on the side, there's a tattoo parlor. Like it looks really innocent, but later in the night, it becomes a lot less innocent. And we did a prayer walk down it, and it was honestly a little scary. And definitely, I remember very clearly that walk. But yeah, it was just really sad to see just a lot of tourists too, just totally having a blast and drinking a lot. And even some people brought their kids there, which that really disturbed me, is that these little kids were kind of seeing things. Um, so the Sea Gypsy Village, which I'll talk to you guys about later, has the most at-risk women that work in the prostitution and the human trafficking kind of area here. So it's a lot of like the poor people that don't really have a choice, which is also very sad. And it's kind of weird that the Buddhist ideals are like the merit-based, right? So doing good deeds, and one of them is to be like virtuous in your sexuality, but it's so against the modern culture, it like doesn't really fit, and that's really odd that it's so accepted there, or I found. You can go to the next slide. This is FFI's little human trafficking poster. So most important thing on here is the definition. So there's an act, a means, and a purpose. So the act can be recruitment, transport, transfer, harboring, or receipt of persons by the means of force, coercion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse, vulnerability, for the purpose of exploitation, prostitution, forced labor, even removal of organs, which I did not know that. There's a lot of labor trafficking as well as sexual exploitation. You can go to the next slide. There's some more facts there. I'm not going to read them all because probably don't have time. And they're also very, very sad. But an important thing we have in the corner here is, what can you guys do about it? And biggest thing, pray. Pray for those people in Thailand. Pray for those people all around the world. And I don't really know if it'll touch you as much as it has me because I've seen it, but I definitely think people that have a heart for this are just, yeah, really touched and should be praying about this. You can raise awareness, like sharing this infographic. You can support anti-trafficking. So one of the things that FFI asked of us was to support them after JSM if we wanted to, and that was just a really good opportunity for me. You can go on their website and take a look at donations, and yeah, they're doing a lot of really great work. Some other ones are Shop Ethically for the labor trafficking, and yeah, the other ones, they're not super big in small towns, but in the city, there's a lot more trafficking. And then this Nefarious Merchant of Souls is a YouTube movie, and it's very intense, and we had to watch it, and it's very sad, so you can watch it, but I'm warning you, it's very sad and probably for an older audience. Yeah, okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so step away from the human trafficking. That is very heavy. So some of the other things we learned about in discipleship training school, we learned about comparative religions. So we learned about Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam. I think that was really interesting just to get a perspective on different people's worldviews. Because I think the other few percent, so what I say, 95% is Buddhist. Like the other 5% is like Muslim. There's like maybe 1% Christian or lower. There's a few other religions mixed in there. And then when we were in Malaysia for a little bit, there was a lot of Hinduism and Muslim as well. So there's a lot of exposure to different religions, which here not as much. So that was a bit of a shock, but also a good learning experience. Some other things, we delved into the Old and New Testament and how to read the Bible like correctly, whether it's like wisdom literature, the poetry, or the story narratives, and just really going deeper into the text, which I found was really impactful for me, just to make it more engaging and effective reading. So that was really cool that week. It was a lot of homework though. We also learned about contextualization and worldview and culture. So lots of cultural things that we had to follow. For one example, I mentioned like the bowing. We had to bow a lot. Not that you had to, but it was polite, and the Thai people really appreciated it. So we did that. And something that was not really here is you can't show people the bottom of your foot because it's very disrespectful. And that was also very hard to remember. So we had some close calls, but it's just like broadening your worldview of other people's culture and respecting that. So that was really neat to firsthand fit in with a culture you're not used to. Yeah, we had a few guest speakers come in, which I'll talk about one of them. And we had some re-entry stuff for coming back here, like how to react, because it's a bit weird. You get cultural shock going there, and you get cultural shock coming back. So those were good classes and important. And some of my favorite times in class was when we did outreach. So for our outreach, I mentioned we did the prayer walk through the red light district. We also did one through a mall, and we also played worship music at the beach just outside of the red light district. And that was just a really cool bonding experience with my teammates. And we kept getting rained out for most of them, so they ended up being pretty rare that we got to do them. Again, it was rainy season. We got rained out of like everything. But what's cool with the worship music at the beach was we met, can't remember what, I think he was European. He was this Christian guy that was so lonely, and he was like just talking to God, like, please give me someone, I'm so lonely. He had just gotten divorced, and like his wife took the kids, so he had nothing. He was traveling around Thailand pretty much until he was broke. So he just really needed some people to talk to. So that was really cool. You can go to the next slide. Some other things we did were work days. So we completed some renovations for a church called Zion. They asked us to come in. And honestly, it was really fun. Our little group, we found that we loved smashing things and just moving bags of heavy things like concrete and sand that was really wet, again, because it was raining all the time. And we got super muddy, and it was just a really fun experience. The church is actually finished now, and I don't have any pictures, sadly, but it took a very long time to get the renovations done. They don't have bobcats there. They don't have jackhammers. We're doing these with like mallets and just moving stuff with like just gloved hands. So yeah, it took a while, but it was really cool. The the church's youth actually did a lot of the work. We only went once a week. They were there for like every evening. Um, so yeah, it was really cool to meet them and work beside them. And it's very interesting, just like the perception of safety, because they were like in their bare feet and in like t-shirt and shorts. So, and you'd see people like doing construction like that, and that was also kind of a cultural shock. Um, yeah, you can go to the next slide. So I mentioned Malaysia. So we were in Malaysia for 5 days because of our visa. We had to re-enter the country. So we did most of our time in Penang, and we met with a non-government organization that helped with trafficked refugees in Malaysia. So those apartments are one of the apartment buildings for the refugees, and then this bottom one is one of the meals we had with them. So this organization provides prenatal classes, it helps with the refugee schools, and the workers meet in the refugees' apartments like weekly, some daily, some monthly. Because these refugees are like dirt poor. It was crazy to just like sit in their house and be fed their food. We were in, me and one of the JSOM girls, she's in the back of that far picture. We were assigned to go visit one of the apartments with a translator. And it was kind of awkward because we could not speak the language that the refugees could, so we just kind of sat there and played with their kids, which was fun. And this is where I had to eat spicy things. They gave us spicy noodles, and they were the hottest thing I've ever eaten. And, yeah, but we had to be polite, so we had to eat them, and yeah, it was a good experience. But it was really hard seeing, and yeah, as we're sitting on the floor because they don't have a table. Yeah, so it was really sad to see like extreme poverty right in your face. What did we do? Yeah, so these refugees are not treated as Malaysian citizens, so their healthcare is super expensive. They can't go to regular schools, and it's really hard for them to find work. So this non-government organization also provides trade skills for the men, and the women are usually stuck in the apartments. This little group of refugees are Muslim, and they believe in arranged marriages and child brides, and also keeping the woman inside of the house, and that she doesn't really leave, she just takes care of the kids. So it's a very hard life that these refugees are living. And yeah, so this organization is just helping like with the prenatal classes. A lot of, if the brides are children, they're gonna be child mothers too. So that was also really hard to see. I met one of them that had just arrived like a month ago. And this was in November. And her name was Asma, and she was 14, I think, and just got married. And yeah, that hit me pretty hard because I didn't know her age the whole time, and I was just kind of like doing some embroidery with her and just sitting with her. So that hit me pretty hard afterwards. But yeah, so, and for the trafficking, these refugees are trafficked from Burma, I think. And so they're not like, it's not the same as the sexual trafficking, but it's still under human trafficking because they're being transported, and they're often treated like very harshly. They can get exploited, and usually their families have to pay a lot of money and ransom money. And it's just a really awful traumatizing experience for them. So that was also very hard to hear. You can go to the next slide. So in Malaysia, we saw that community development, so that non-government organization, they're meeting with these people, they're providing these classes and this education to make lasting change and having a lasting impact. So I named this one When Does Helping Hurt? That was a book we had to read prior to going, and it was very much demonstrated in this. So Malaysia, that was incredible community development and a lot of commitment. For the Sea Gypsy Village in Phuket, which I mentioned, we were part of a distribution of goods at a one-day party event. And this kind of help was not lasting in change. It created a lot of reliance, and it just looks good on paper. It's not actually super helpful. So the top there is all of us, and it was mostly kids there. There's a few adults kind of lingering around, but it was a birthday party event. The organizer, it was her birthday, and for her birthday she wanted to give back to this poor community, which sounds really great, and her heart was totally in it. But the delivery was just not that great. So one of the things that hit me was just the donation stuff. So there was like sweaters donated, like adult size sweaters, and these kids needed kids clothing. And they also live in a place where it's like high 30s. They don't need sweaters. They don't have air conditioning. They're in slums. So that was really hard to see. And when we were distributing stuff, everyone was just like, it eventually became chaos. Everyone was just taking stuff. So wasn't super organized either. I did learn that giving money to nonprofit organizations is usually a lot better than just donating things, because these organizations know what they need, where the money needs to go to. Not saying you shouldn't donate, because that's also good. I donate lots of things, so that's fine, but just keep an open mind with that. Okay, so that was some heavier stuff. We'll go to some lighter stuff. So you can go to the next slide. So there's a lot of unexpected things happen. A lot of heavy stuff I learned. A lot of fun times too, though, and I think that's also really important to touch up on. It was not all sad and gloomy. It was a lot of fun. So we went to the one skating rink there, and it was the worst skating rink ever. It was super bumpy. Their Zamboni had been broken for months because they never knew how to fix it when they got it. And the skates felt like you're just standing on cardboard and blades, but it was a really fun experience. On the left here, one of the students, the JSOM students, got baptized. So that was really awesome to witness. And there was also like massive storms and flooding while I was there. There was a huge typhoon like in northern Thailand. So a little bit, yeah, it was a little bit north from us, but we definitely felt the storm. And again, was rain out of a lot of things. But yeah, there was also a ton of flooding. Thankfully, the flooding happened mostly when we were in Malaysia, so then we kind of avoided it. But yeah, the streets were completely flooded, and it hasn't been like this for like 30 years. So everyone was shocked, and everyone was still going to work, and just, I don't know if you can see that big splash there. Someone on their motorbike just ripping through the river. My friend and a couple of the JSOM leaders, they did a race in the flood, and they were like up to their waist in water running, and I don't know why they did that, but they had a lot of fun, and I was glad that I missed that. I was good with just staying inside. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so I accidentally created a laundry business while I was there, and I really don't understand how this happened, but also it does make sense. So, I was looking for a laundromat with my buddy Caden, and we were just wandering around. And we were told there was a laundromat somewhere in the area. Obviously, we didn't pay attention to the directions that well. So we Googled it, and it took us to this house that was also a restaurant. Because again, there's a lot of like small businesses and a lot of vendors, and usually it's in front of people's houses. So we're like, okay, look here. Like they seem to have washing machines in there, and the old lady there did not speak English, but she could say laundry. So she's like, laundry? Like, I'll take your laundry. So like, okay, she must be a laundromat, right? So we give her our laundry, we pay her, and she'll bring it, like, we'll go get it the next day. So then I told my other JSOM students about it, so then they went, and the lady was really confused at why they didn't want soup, and they wanted they wanted our laundry. So it was a bit confusing, but they just went with it because we were paying them. And yeah, we later found out they are not a laundry business. They are just a restaurant and a big family that live in the house behind it. We found the actual laundromat had moved a few blocks. So, and then we just kept going back to them for 3 months, and they made this sign on the last day we were there to promote their laundry business, and they bought like racks. I don't have a picture of it, but they hung all our stuff up on the fences, and so then you get like plants and stuff stuck to your clothes. So I had to like stop caring about my clothes at that point, if they got wrecked or not. But yeah, it was a really funny experience. And one time I brought my laundry home, and there was 3 pairs of underwear that were not mine. And it was her kids' underwear. And they're really disgusting. They were like had holes in them and were really worn. And I was so disgusted, and everyone was laughing so hard at me. But yeah, good times. So I have a video also of us in front of the laundry place. And yeah, just some of the information that Nancy will say is not true and outdated. This church was thinking about going in April, and they never went to Thailand, so just disregard that. But yeah, you can play it.
Given the instruction. Sawadee Ka. Grand Center Alliance Church in Cold Lake. We are coming from, just giving a little introduction. Sawadee Ka. Grand Center Alliance Church in Cold Lake. We are coming from Phuket, Thailand, and we are just finishing our 2022 Justice semester. And one of your young adults is here with us, Nyah Nickel. And if you don't know her, she is one creative young lady. She loves the Lord and is creative. So she's just going to tell you about an experience that she has created here in Phuket, Thailand.
Oh, you did. Created a laundry service accidentally.
Yeah, and Nyah has given to the community here and represented him well by bringing laundry here and just shining her light to this family. Nyah also does a lot of crocheting and has spent time with children in the community, giving them the little octopi that she has created. And as she comes back soon to Cold Lake, get to know her, those of you that don't, and see how God has used this time in Justice Semester for her. And as you are sending out a group of people on a visions trip in April, please consider possibly seeing if God would want you to join your church in April, and we have got a laundry service for you.
This is my, and this is my method.ขอบคุณค่ะ Okay, yeah, we were super awkward because Nancy just kept talking and we didn't like script any of this. So we were just all standing there super awkward. So that was great. Yeah, those are the two laundry ladies. Um, yeah, they even did our laundry in the flooding. Like their street was flooded and they did our laundry still. They were amazing. Um, okay, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so my takeaways. Um, biggest one that we had to do at the end for our little grad service was our rule of life. So the one that I came up with was to show God's love and compassion in a dark world, act with grace. And yeah, this is our little grad ceremony in the bottom corner there. The two kids up there are Millie and Joseph, and they were two of the kids that I met, and they're wonderful. I still FaceTime Joseph sometimes, and it's very cute. And he's trying to do a giant maze there that Kaden made in the middle of the night. So, yeah, and then Millie, I don't know if you can see, she drew a picture of me and her. And it was so cute. And she also really liked kissing me a lot. Yeah, it was interesting. She was very, very cute and like hugging. She loved hugging everybody. So yeah, I met a ton of amazing kids. It was really cool. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting like just meet a lot of cool adults and younger people. But yeah, I ended up spending a lot of time with kids, and I don't have another picture of it, but there was also this East Indian girl named Joanna that she also really liked spending time with me. So she was really cool too. So my other takeaways were how to live in such a small community with people. We had to share a dorm, and that was very interesting. Living with people that are not your family. They quickly became my family, and we had lots of super deep talks on our little couches in our little living area. And it was a super great team. We were really small. There was only 5 of us, but it was the perfect size, I think. So some other things I learned. I had a lot of exposure and appreciation of Thai culture. I did like no research before going to Thailand, which I meant to do and then I never did. So everything was a surprise and it was wonderful. I also had a lot of exposure to the dark spiritual oppression in Thailand. Um, there's spiritual oppression everywhere, but it's very visible when you have such a spiritual culture. And so it's kind of, yeah, in your face. You have to think about these things because of the vegetarian festival, of all these other different festivals and these different gods and temples and shrines. It's very almost, you think about God, I think, a lot more. And just, where are you here? But He is there, He is everywhere. So that was very reassuring. Um, yeah, and healthy discernment and just taking in learning and teaching and just picking it with the group and just really going deep and just kind of finding out what parts of your theology or thinking is a little flawed or could change, or just learning about a different view on something, because our group had quite a different views on different things, and it was really cool to just talk about them and just be in a safe Christian community to do that. So that was really cool. Yeah, next slide. So, if you guys have any questions for me?